Hi guys, Karen here. My layout today is going to be these two pictures of my daughter and her boyfriend trying out some new experiences. I've used this piece of paper from my stash. It's quite a thin piece. It's from one of these paper pads, but I wanted something fairly neutral for the background, but I thought white was it didn't work for me to have white. So this is a quite neutral with a little bit of sort of splattering on it. It's not very much of a pattern on it at all, but because it's paper quality, I've backed it onto this cardboard, this dark brown cardstock. And here we go. I'm all happy because my silhouette is now working beautifully. I had a web chat with one of their customer service ladies, and she was really helpful and very quickly identified the problem I was having, and they decided that my blade wasn't set properly in its holder. So once I got that sorted out, it's now working beautifully, as you can see. And it's cut this wreath out, without any problems at all, and I'm very happy with it. So I'm going to put a little bit more colour in the background of my layout. I didn't want to add, because of the thinness of the paper, I didn't want to add anything watery or add any water. So I'm just doing a little bit of this, these distress inks, just dabbing it a little bit at a time onto some packaging there and just blotching it about. So the colour I'm using at the moment is brushed corduroy, so it's a little bit of brown because there's quite a lot of brown in the pictures and also quite a lot of green, so hence the colour scheme that I'm using. This is a little bit of I think that's still the brown, and then I'm using a bit of bundled sage for a splash of green on the background. The colours I'm using are probably fairly autumnal, and although these pictures are taken in May, as you can see, it wasn't very warm, so the autumnal theme seems appropriate even though it wasn't actually in autumn. And now the final colour I'm using for this background is scattered straw, so I'm doing a little bit of that again the same way. So try not to make the paper too wet. That was the idea. I didn't want it getting all curling up and too soggy because the paper couldn't really take it. So it's just to give a little bit more colour behind my wreath there. It's a leaf wreath, I think it was, that I got from the Silhouette store. Took me about an hour to decide on what I was going to use. I think now that my silhouette is actually working, it's taking just as much time to get it to try and decide what I'm actually going to cut out or to use. So I'm going to back some of these leaves. I don't back everything, but I back most of it with little scraps from my scrap box. And I also got my paper pad, my 6x6 paper pads out, and used a couple of those, mainly picking out again these autumnal reds and not reds, sort of corals, yellows, greens and browns, and just doing a few leaves, like a little section of leaves at a time. I'm not going to do the individual leaves, otherwise I'd never have got it finished. So I'm just showing that I'm just cutting around some of these different little scraps of paper. I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole thing because it took quite a while to get all the way round. I left a few blank, but I did manage to get most of it backed, but it did take quite a while. It's quite fiddly, very small areas, and I'm not practiced at this, as I'm sure you know. I haven't done very many of these before. Hope to do some more again in the future. I'm going to enjoy using my silhouette now that it actually cuts. So yeah, I'm just trying to choose a few colours that will just enhance the whole theme of the day, which was, I think, from what I can see from the photos, looked quite a chilly, blustery day, and I think these colours work quite well with it. So just one final piece I'm just going to cut here, and then I shall cut it to when I've done a few more of them. So yeah, I was very happy when the very helpful lady at the Silhouette store, or the Silhouette customer service, she very quickly figured out what the problem was, and I really thought I'd got a faulty machine, and I thought, well, as a last resort, I thought I'd contact the customer service and see if they could help me, and they really did. So it's definitely worth contacting them and explaining your problem, because I'm the other side of the Atlantic, and she's managed to sort me out in a very short space of time and get the machine working beautifully. I didn't really think they would actually be able to fix my problem, but just goes to show, got to have a bit of faith. So there we are, halfway there, and then I'm just about doing the last little bit now. last little bit of backing. So it took quite a while to get this all done, but it's been something I've been looking forward to having a go at doing, and I really like the way it's turned out with all the different colours. Quite a lot of the paper was from the Cedar Lane 6x6 paper pad, which I hadn't used very much before, but it had all the right colours in it, so I used that for quite a lot of the backing. And now I'm just picking out some papers to back my photos. I'm just going to do a couple of backing layers, flicking through. There's the Cedar Lane 6x6 pad. Had some lovely papers in it. I didn't get to use a huge amount of it, but I did use a fair bit for the backing and of the leaves, and it was just right. I'm trying out different sheets, but actually in the end I keep it fairly simple with my backing layers. I didn't want to compete too much with the wreath as well, so I've got a fairly light, very pale green piece of cardstock there that I had in my scrap box, and I'm just going to trim that down for each one. And there we go, they're both backed, and there's the other one on the same backing paper. I'm going to keep them both the same, just a couple of simple layers. There we are. And then I'm going to pick out from I think that is, can't remember which paper pad that's from. I picked out that brown cardstock, and that's going to be because that will just lift it away from the colours in the background of the wreath. The brown will just provide that bit of separation, the darker colour. There's a little bit of brown in the leaves, but not very much, so I thought this would be a good colour to use. I very rarely use brown. It's not one of my favourite colours, but this layer, in fact, a lot of these colours are not colours I use very often, but they just seem to work with the photograph. So sometimes you have to be led by the colours in your photos, and there's a fair bit of green and brown in there, so they're the colours I've used. Now I'm just going to stick my wreath down using my Scotch tacky glue I've got in my little bottle, like as many people use. So I'm just doing a little layer, really just down the middle of the wreath, and on some of the leaves, just to make sure it stays down. I almost put too much glue on it because it's very firmly stuck, and then I found out actually quite difficult to tuck things in, tuck my photos in later, which I was planning to do, but I wasn't able to do in the end because I'd stuck my leaves down a bit too firmly. So there we are. I've got the photos ready to go. That's where they're going to be. I'm just going to put a little bit of foam on the one on the right because it's just lifted up above, because it's overlapping the other photo. It just needed a little bit of foam to level it out. And I'm just going to stick those down now. There we are. So they're both on trying out segways, having a little Segway experience, and then on another day they went rollerblading, so they had lots of fun. I don't think it's at the same place, but they're similar photos, so I thought it was worth putting them together. Now I've got this little pot of flowers. Some of them are made of they're like organza with a bit of glitter on, and they're all sort of different creamy and browny shades with a bit of glitter here and there. I've had this pot for years, and I've never hardly ever used any of these flowers, and I thought, right, this is the time. So I'm just going to put a few of them around the wreath. The colours just go beautifully with everything else. There's a few leaves there. They're made of plastic. They're quite shiny. They've got gold on them, and some of them are poppery colours, or some of them are green with a bit of gold on. They just came like that. I didn't make them. And now I'm just layering them up using some brads to create some flowers, some layered flowers, especially the organza ones, because they're so thin. You need 2 or 3 layers to make them visible almost. But they're really pretty. They've all got glitter on them. And some I've layered with, some of them are more like a silk flower. So I've just done a variety of layers, and I'm using some brads. They're lots of different colour brads. There's some gold brads that are in heart shape. There's some gold circle brads, and then some little bronzy brads as well, just to put in the centres of all my flowers. Now I'm trying to stick them. I'm sticking them down, putting plenty of glue on the back of the brad, thinking that would save me having to drill holes in my layout all the way around. And to start with, that seemed to be working quite well. These leaves are not the easiest to stick down. I had to put lots of glue on them and hold them down for a few moments to get them to stick. But it was working quite well at this point, and they do seem to stick fine. You see, I'm just having to hold them in place to get them to really grab and stay stuck. And then I'm sticking another. This is more of a gold. This is a gold leaf. Some of them are more coppery, but I think these ones that I used were of the gold colour. Then I got round to this little cluster at the side here, and no matter how long I held in, how much glue, I could not get this leaf to stick. And once I couldn't get that leaf to stick, I couldn't get the other leaf to stick. So then I had to come up with another plan. So for this leaf, I used my tiny attacher, but it wouldn't reach the other leaf. So then I thought, well, I'm going to have to actually start putting the brads through the paper now, because they're just not, it's just for some reason the glue wasn't working for me anymore. So I'm now punching a hole in that leaf that you see it's got loads of white. The white is all the glue I tried to use, but it just wasn't happening. Refused to stick. So now I'm having to punch the holes right through the layout and using those brads. So I'm having to whereas I'd flattened them out, I've had to put them back together again to try and to get the brads to go through not only the flower but also through the leaf to try and hold that to the page. It was just a bit fiddly. I got there in the end. I managed to use it was just this little cluster on the side there that for some reason refused to stick, so I had to put the brads right through the layout on those ones. But this last little one at the top, that seemed to work okay with the glue again. So don't know what the problem was. It just, I think it was too much plastic and it just weren't sticking to each other. So that worked out fine in the end, and I'm quite happy with how they turned out. And now I'm just going to do my title. And the title is just Let's Play. The play, as you can see on the left, is a big white acrylic piece that was in one of my hip kits. And then I'm using this my little Sidekick by Sizzix, and these little dies, these letter dies. I've already tried punching it out in green, as you can see on the side there. I've done it in green, and I didn't like the green. It was too close. It was too similar to the green of the wreath. So now I've used some more of the brown cardstock, punching out the word Let's again. So it's just going to be Let's Play. So brushing aside the green ones that I'd cut out previously that blended in too much with the background. And these are the brown ones that I've decided to use, and that works quite well. That just sort of all nettles in together nicely, so I like that. And I'm just using my little quickie glue pen. It starts off blue as you put it on, and then it turns transparent, and it sticks quite well. For these little tiny pieces, it's quite a good one to use. And I just hand cut a little apostrophe there between let and the S, and that's so make it Let's Play. And I just used some glue dots for the play. There was one already on it, but I needed to add some extra ones to make it stick all the way across and make it more firmly stuck to the page. So I'm nearly finished now. I'm just going to do the date. And there's just a couple more things to do. So I've just put the date. It's May 2017, so this was from last year. And then a little bit of journaling along the side here. Just saying that it was... Hannah and George were trying out some new experiences, trying rollerblading and Segway riding. I don't know if that's the right word for Segway, but I've just put Segway riding. And I'm just going to do a few gold splatters. I couldn't get the top off my gold Heidi Shine, so I've used a Mr. Huey's gold here, which isn't really as bright and shiny, but later on I get my husband to get the top off for me so that I do add some gold Heidi Shine after I finish filming, and that you'll be able to see those, if you can tell the difference, in the stills that will follow the video. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did and you haven't already subscribed, please do, and give me a like if you like the video. See you again soon. Bye bye.